When we talk about smooth and subdiv proxy, we're actually talking about how to refine our rigid or rough edged objects or models to make them look a little bit smoother. So the way the smooth works and the subdiv works, they are kind of similar. There's just a little of a difference. I'll just show you what those differences are. So why do we use the smooth on the smooth tool? We find it here in our modeling toolkit. Why do we use it? So I'm just going to create a cube here. Actually, I'm just going to create two of them. I'll create this. So I'm going to add some subdivisions to it. So maybe 2 by 2 by 2. Okay, so just duplicate that and move it here. Okay, so we have two cubes now. Okay, so let's start with the smooth. You know, in the previous video I was like to see a smooth preview of your object. You just hit the 3 key on your keyboard and it shows you the smooth view of your object. Now, depending on how many subdivs it has, if I just, let me go back to 1. If I just create a cube, a typical cube, and I don't add any subdivs to it, this is what happens. If I hit the 3 key, it looks like a ball. And the reason why it looks like a ball is it doesn't have enough subdivs to make it look like a cube. So if I want to make this look more like a cube, then I will come here and add some more. Oh, you can see I'm really making it look like a cylinder. I can now add some more subdivs and then it starts to look like a cube. Okay, so the subdivs are kind of adding more detail to your object. So the less subdivs your object has, the less detail it will have. So I'm just going to delete this and we'll work with this ones. So adding a smooth to this object here, we see how does that work. What it does is, you can see why I actually made 2 so it will be easier to understand. For each face, for each side of this cube, we have 4 faces divided. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. What the smooth does is subdivide this 4 into 4. So at the end of the day, we have, rather than 4, we have 1 face divided into 4. So that's 4 in 4 places. That's, we're going to have 16 now. So if I press a smooth, then you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. If I smooth it again, it's going to multiply that again. It's going to multiply and create another 4 divisions. So in every face, it's divided into 4 because it's a 4-sided polygon. It's a quad. So now the amount of divisions here is the subdivs that we have. We have 1. You could make it more. You see we get into more divisions. So rather than clicking on smooth again, I can just add more divisions. So adding 1 division just makes it have 4. Adding 2 divisions makes those 4 have other 4 inside them, and on like that. So it's just like 4 ways to the power of 2 and on like that. So now the major catch with this is, now that I have this subdiv, I can go into my modeling and select my face mode. I'll probably use the soft selection. Okay, and just reduce my soft selection because it's like it gets in a whole lot of reference here. So remember how to do that. I'm holding down the B key and left clicking and dragging to my left to reduce, left click and drag to your right to increase. So if you're kind of like this. You can't see the ball, just keep going, it's somewhere out there. So I can now use this to create a shape. All right, okay, so turn off the soft selection and go back to object mode. Okay, so what's the difference between the smooth and the subdiv proxy? Okay, the subdiv proxy is also found in the mesh menu. Remember, these objects need to be used in their mesh mode, that's in their original mode, not in their component mode. So all these tools will exist in the mesh menu. So if I come here, I click on the mesh, I see my smooth proxy and I see the subdiv proxy. Depending on the version of Maya you have, your smooth proxy might not be there. Your subdiv proxy might be a standalone in the menu. What we're looking for is subdiv proxy, subdivision proxy. So why proxy? We have a smooth and we have a smooth proxy. So the difference is, with this option, we're going to create a proxy that we're going to create a smooth image, and we're going to maintain a proxy of the original image. So this is what I'm talking about. If I click on this, you now see it's having the smooth image inside and the proxy of the original image on the outside. Now, why is that different from this, and how can this be used? Fine, when it comes to the smooth, I have to affect the object in its smooth state. I cannot access the low version or the low polygon state, the low view. That's even if I hit 1 on my keyboard to access the low resolution view, I can't get this to be rough and jagged anymore. Okay, so what I get here with the subdiv proxy is the same thing I get when I create an object and I hit the 2 key, so I can see the proxy on the outside and I see the smooth on the inside. That's what we have in here. All right, so now what's the difference here? With this one, I could actually move my proxy out, and if I want to make changes to this object, all I need to do is go into my face mode probably and select the face and hit the B key with soft selection, and I now move around, or I could just do it on the vertex mode and I play with it based on the influence of my key. Okay, so now the difference is with the subdiv proxy and the smooth proxy. You may say we have more divisions here than we have here. No, we don't. What we did with the subdiv, we didn't add enough of divisions. It's the same thing. It divided those faces into 4. So one face has 4 points. Then you can subdivide it more so that we have more points. So when we come here, we have the smooth proxy for that, for the objects. So you can see division levels is 1. I can actually make it 2, just like we made with the other one. So we now have 2 divisions and 2 divisions here. But the general rule is, because this is the smooth proxy, I can use the original image here to create changes in my object. Okay, so I don't necessarily need to affect the smooth object. So that's the major difference. So let's look at it in the modeling perspective. I'm going to open up a scene, and it's on the prototype that I created some time ago. Okay, don't worry, we're gonna create yours. This is a practical course, so we're not going to use too many exercise files. We're going to create most things from scratch. And even if we're going to use some things like this as references, they are just for references. You have to learn how to create your own. Okay, so first of all, I'll just duplicate this lady and move her to the side here. So at first glance, we could see that she's actually rough edged, and that's because the polygons are just rough edged. They are not smoothed out. And this is a scenario you come across when we are modeling. You could, no matter how much you try to make it smooth, if you do not use the smooth or the subdiv proxy, the object will not necessarily get as smooth as it's supposed to be. So for this one, I'm going to use the smooth, and immediately you see the difference. She is smoothed out. You can see the knees are a little bit smoother, the calves are smoother than this, and her feet is smoother, everywhere is smoother. So, and she has more divisions than this one now. So that's the difference. And you add more divisions, you get more divisions. But you have to be careful. The more divisions you have, the longer render time you're going to get. So it's not something you want to do often and create too many divisions. Even though the more divisions you have, the smoother the object gets. The more divisions you have, the longer render time you get. And if your system is not strong, it could crash your system. So we don't want your system crashing now. Right, so if I use a subdiv proxy for this, I can see, you see this shades, and that's just because the object is inside there. So I could just move my proxy outside. So now I could play around with my proxy and I can make changes to her body. So let's take, for instance, I want to maybe give her a boob job or something. Let me use my increase this, so I could increase this boob job here. Okay, so you can see I can do all sorts of work with her, and I'm not challenged about playing directly with my smooth object here. But while I'm playing with this one, while I'm playing with my mesh or base mesh, I'm actually affecting the smooth proxy. So you want to make it look like she's pregnant or something, you could just give her a big stomach and stuff. Don't mind me. Now, what happens if you render this? If you render this, you will have the three of them showing up on your render scene. So let's shade under the Maya software. You could see the three of them, but the proxy is showing like a proxy, like a kind of faded version. So if you want to render this, usually if you're going to use this, you want to hide this version or maybe delete it once you're done with what you're doing. So let's just hide it for now and come back and re-render this. And now we could see that there are only two of them. So in a modeling scenario, this is what we will be using, either the smooth or the subdiv proxy. It depends on what you want to use, but preferably you want to be using the subdiv proxy.